it's pink. And it's pretty inviting. You see words like test booster, libido, and all these what appear to be plants. All looks pretty natural, right? Yeah. Nice little increase in testosterone. That increases libido, gets our mood feeling a little better. We just feel more vital. That's what a test booster does. Except this isn't a test booster, because buried all the way at the bottom of the label is Epiandro, a very real DHT-based prohormone. So honestly, I wouldn't even characterize this as a supplement. It's more or less, well, it's a light cycle. And it can be very effective, but only if you know when to take it. Speaking of when, back in 2011, Pink Magic didn't look anything like this. In fact, they don't even know what it looked like. Just rumors. It's a growth peptide, or maybe it's a stem cell analog of some kind. So much so, they didn't know that they didn't even know how to label it, which is why they couldn't communicate to us as the consumer what it was. Therefore, it wasn't even banned, it just kind of vanished. Fast forward to 2021, we're looking at a very pink bottle of Pink Magic now with some very pink pills, which is a brand new formulation and still very effective. I say this because I'm currently on it. I'm 4 weeks in, so I know exactly how it hits. Which, if you're planning on taking it or are at least interested in it, you're probably wondering what's going on underneath the hood. Who it's for, what it does, and how it works. This, my dudes, is the only video ever created, not just on the new modern Pink Magic, but on Pink Magic in general. And you know we're going to do it right like we always do. My brothers, let's get it.
You are now in the presence of a...
Now, the formulation for Pink Magic has changed many times over the years. And while it's not important what it used to look like, what is important is what it looks like right now. And that's 3 layers. At the bottom, you've got testosterone boosters. Then you've got libido enhancers. And then where a lot of people don't even realize, it actually has anabolics too. And so, yeah, this isn't going to be the craziest cycle you've ever done, but it's certainly something to pay attention to. You don't want to get caught off guard by this one. Because some websites out there are marketing that it's the best PCT product, which this is just categorically false. Do not take this as a PCT. I repeat, do not take this as a PCT or it's going to shut you down even further. So let's break down why that is. We can talk about the ingredients and talk about how they work. All right, straight up, just mask off completely. I thought it'd be nice if we could have all this really complicated stuff in one spot. So I created a list, which I can now add to very easily, and I will every week, of every product we've covered, and even ones we haven't, each drilling down to the raw compound facts, the benefits, everything, all Korean style, so it's super simple for you to understand. And guys, this is all free. So if you would do me a favor and leave a comment to help somebody else out, especially if you've run it before, we'd all really appreciate it. All right, back to it. So we've got 9 ingredients here. The first of which is 750 milligrams of Eucommia almoides. Traditionally, this one was used to fight stress and bring down cortisol. And then more recently, in 2022, a study would show that water extract of Eucommia almoides can increase the water weight of testes and the number of Leydig cells. And this is within mice, implying within mice, it increased testosterone levels. I personally just take Eucommia almoides before every single workout. The pumps, I'm not kidding you, they're insane. And then you've got 375 milligrams of tribulus. And though it doesn't officially boost testosterone, at least according to science in humans, it may potentially increase libido, at least. And then you've got 300 milligrams of Macellaria acuminata. And this one's a rare African plant, which also shows promise within rat studies at increasing testosterone and that brain-to-ball connection, also called the luteinizing hormone. And then 300 milligrams of fenugreek. And this one extensively shows an increase in natural testosterone through many studies. And 157.5 milligrams of maca root, which is actually, funny enough, considered an adaptogenic aphrodisiac, which scientifically, this one shows a higher erectile function score within a double-blind placebo group. So it's pretty safe to say that this one increases libido. At the very least, blood flow. And we've got 75 milligrams of Discoria machino or Macano. Not exactly sure how you say that one. This one's going to be focused on the adrenals, more on the hormonal support side, traditional in nature. 8-week study proved scientifically that you'll see an increase in DHEA serum levels, an increase in free testosterone, and showed a spike in DHT. But that was at 2,000 milligrams. The 75 milligrams ain't going to quite do that. Slightly underdosed there. Then we've got 130 milligrams of Raponticum carthamoids. You may have heard this one before as marrow root. And if you haven't, that's what it's called. And there's been a number of rat studies indicating that if we dose it post-workout, it can have a significant impact on our protein synthesis, therefore your muscle and overall physical performance. Then we've got 150 milligrams of epiandrosterone, also known as Epiandro. This is a prohormone, one we've seen before, one that converts into the androgenic hormone DHT. And yeah, this one's definitely going to build some muscle, but it's also going to influence our well-being, that fight or flight, that stress response. And lastly, we've got 150 milligrams of laxoginin. Now, I have in the past said that this one operates potentially in the mTOR pathway, but we're not exactly sure. I was, however, able to dig up a study where there were androgen receptors activated within humans, within the prostate cell specifically. So these are just the cells in vitro. So still inconclusive. We'll just continue to say it increases protein synthesis. So how does it actually feel to take Pink Magic? So I've officially been on Pink Magic now for 4 weeks while I wait for my 3AD cycle. Excited about that one. But in this time, I've noticed minutely, but they're still there, a little bit more lines. Yes, I'm on TRT, which that means some of you aren't going to listen to me, and that's okay. But just know that I'm controlling for the before and after. I've been on TRT now for close to 10 years. So anything that I change, I notice dramatically. And I did notice the lines, the hardness, the aggression for sure. Which begs the question, why would we even bother with test boosters in a product like this with Epiandro, a prohormone? Bigger question, why even take a test booster at all when you're taking an androgen? Well, it actually cancels each other out. Maybe like you thought, or if you've ever thought, it makes sense that it would. Here's kind of how it works. So when you take one of these Pink Magic pills, these rather large pink pills, what's going to happen is the test boosters are going to try to increase your LH, or luteinizing hormone, thus increasing your natural testosterone production. What's going to happen on the other side, though, is that Epiandro, the prohormone, is going to do the opposite. It's going to say, hey, we've got enough androgens in here. We don't need to increase LH. We can just stop or at least suppress some of our natural testosterone. You see, Epiandro or any androgen is going to win every single day. Your natural testosterone is not going to increase while on cycle with the test booster enough to at least experience any difference when you're off. TLDR, if moving forward means keeping our testosterone levels up, then one of these pink little pills right here, the test boosters in here, well, it's going to tap the gas, just barely, the gas pedal. Whereas the Epiandro or the prohormone is going to do the opposite and just straight up hit the brake. So from a hormonal perspective, it's kind of pointless. But from a brain or health benefit perspective, there's actually something here. For sure, you've got maca for libido and mood, dysphoria and Raponticum for endurance and cell signaling, vinegaric for SHBG modulation. And that's really just a couple of the benefits. Because if we're being honest, looking at the back of the bottle, which has these 9 ingredients, which we just went over, yeah, a lot of them are some science-based, some not testosterone boosting components. But what we may not realize too is that underneath this, there's neurogenesis happening. There's vasodilation happening. There's benefits beyond just the endogenous production. Because if we're taking this thinking that this is helping increase our endogenous testosterone while on cycle, don't be thinking that. Do it for the vitality, the libido, the mood boosting benefits, not to ensure that your testosterone, your natural testosterone doesn't plummet. Because really on paper, it's not going to do that. Because Epiandro on paper, which is, like we said, in Pink Magic, is definitely not going to do that. I wouldn't rely on it. But with every negative, it's a double-edged sword. There's a positive. You can expect some dry, lean mass here. So for me, I gained about 2 pounds, which, yeah, I'm on TRT, but when you compare the before and afters, meaning that also too, my androgen receptors are going to be flooded with androgens. So if you have less exposure to androgens, you don't run as many cycles, you might get a little bit more than that, maybe 3 to 4 pounds or so. And your aggression, at least mine, anytime I take Epiandro, is going to go up. Which is why this isn't really for beginners, primarily because this aggression can be countered with something else, a test base. And if you don't know what that is, and if you're a beginner, you should be taking a test base just by itself anyway to understand the benefits and the side effects of just that individual product first. But just know this one is not for beginners. So who is this for? And what is this additional product you speak of? So the first type of person, well, it's not actually a type of person this is for. It's who it's not for. But if you've ever taken a test booster or interested in taking a test booster and you find yourself down the aisle of your Total Nutrition or your local nutrition shop, Total Nutrition Houston is where you should shop though, by the way, and you see a pink bottle that looks harmless and think, yeah, I want to take it up a notch. I've been lifting for a couple years. This says Super Test Stimulator. I'm in. Except, no, don't be in. Because it has Epiandro. This will shut you down. You may be thinking you're taking a natural test booster, but this is not natural. This is the dark side, my brother. The next type of person is someone who's on TRT, who's looking to take it up a notch. Maybe they're looking to cut a little bit and they want to add in something like an Epiandro, which this would be great from Pink Magic because of its additional, their adaptogens or test boosters increasing endogenous testosterone, which doesn't matter, but the neurogenesis and the vasodilation benefits will help decrease some of the water. So you might actually, when you're taking your TRT, need less of a aromatase inhibitor when you take this. It's going to help you shed some of that water weight and clear up some of those lines a little bit. The third type of person is someone, well, they just understand that Epiandro, you do not take it alone. You must take it with a test base. Specifically, and it's back, baby, chosen one, a 1-andro, or, which by the way, I'll leave this above just in case you're new here. And then we've got a 4-andro like Andriol, which this is probably the most popular prohormone. Give it a couple seconds and I'll leave this one above too. But guys, the reason that you take these 4-andros or 1-andros even is that your SHBG can get too low. And when this gets too low, HDL goes up. And we don't want that happening. But the real problem and what's really happening is that androgenically in the brain, as it's passing through the brain, it leads to androgenic properties like aggression. And this can lead to anxiety. But what can counter this is an increase in estrogen. So a 4-andro, which increases testosterone and thus aromatizes the estrogen, will thus increase estrogen slightly, thus ridding our body and our brain of some of these overly aggressive thoughts. 1-andro, even though it doesn't, 1-testosterone, which it converts to, doesn't technically convert into estrogen, though downstream it still can. Needless to say, this is not a beginner product. This must be stacked with something else. You've been warned. And what kind of side effects are we looking at here with Pink Magic? Now, what feels like I've mentioned this ad nauseum already, you can expect some level of suppression in your natural testosterone levels from the Epiandro. Now, the side effects additionally for the Epiandro, things like aggression, which can lead to anxiety if not taken with a test base, like a 4-andro or 1-andro, like Andriol or chosen one. I'm going to keep saying that until you understand it. Some acne flare-ups, potentially some joint issues, maybe even some insomnia, and if hair thinning, hair loss runs in your family, DHT is going to be your main culprit here, if I can speak. So if it does run in the family, this will more than likely at least speed it up. And potentially some GI issues from the herbs like fenugreek or tribulus. Then you have the maca and the raponticum, which could potentially throw off your sleep. Not entirely scientific there, but it's enough to where there's been a few anecdotal cases where it's something to watch out for. The point is that even though this guy right here is all pink and looks all inviting and stuff, it's not side effect free. You still got to watch out for your sleep, recovery, make sure you're getting all your nutrients in and taking care of yourself. And how do we run it? What's the best way to take Pink Magic? So 3 pills a day is going to be the dosing. If I can pick this up I don't know why I even need to pick it up, but 2 in the morning and then 1 in the evening. You're going to want to separate it out. You are going to want to make sure that you stick with the 8 weeks. Don't exceed it, because Epiandro is, though it's not the real deal, it's enough to do some potential damage on the organs. So you've got to pay attention. There's a reason why we have cycle links here, boys. Also, from a stacking perspective, not completely on the anabolic side, but things a little bit before that, you've got creatine, which would be a great addition. As well as if you're thinking your favorite adaptogen, if you like taking adaptogens, there's a lot of them from pine pollen to mushrooms. Specifically, I love the adaptogenic mushrooms, specifically cordyceps, think vasodilation. You're missing out, guys, if you're not familiar with the adaptogenic mushrooms. Go check them out. Go check out what a cordyceps does inside the body of an ant in nature. It's pretty freaking wild. Or you could be more interested in something like an acetosteroid, like a testosterone. I myself, not really too keen, but it's great for pumps pre-workout. If you are looking to take Pink Magic with additional products on top of that might be a little more intense, maybe on the androgenic side, well, you might want to think about tossing in some Tudka as well, because we want to pay attention to delivery here. 4-week PCT, just like pretty much every other prohormone we talk about, that's going to be a Rimaplex. By the way, if you're concerned about cortisol when you're coming off, you can toss in ashwagandha. If you're worried about your testosterone, natural testosterone coming back up and rebooting, you can also toss in Tonkata Lee as well. This is not going to be for beginners. Once again, just got to mention that. And this is not going to be for solo use. This must be stacked. All right, my final thoughts. So just imagine for a second that I'm holding the actual pink, the old Pink Magic bottle. Because if I was, I would be holding essentially the same legal bottle of Genesis 1 today. This is nothing but growth peptides, growth factors. That's all it was. They just, back in the day, didn't know how to label it, didn't know how to communicate it, because they themselves didn't know what it was, and therefore the market wasn't going to accept it. That's right here. You're really going to like that video, by the way. Everything about the science. Chicken embryos. Yummy. Till next week, my brothers. Stay safe. Oh, by the way, this guy right here, just to wrap it all up, it's best if you're already working out and you want to cut for the summer, for instance. You want to just get a little leaner, maybe 3 to 4 pounds of muscle without losing any muscle and still shredding, but still being okay with the shutdown, then yes, Pink Magic is going to be okay for you. Till next week, my brothers, stay safe and stay, I love you, swole, my brothers.